If you find that you're loaded with stress and anxiety about the future, worrying about a variety of things that haven't even happened yet, then you're likely aware of how this is literally destroying your mental health and life in the present moment. But regardless of how bad you think it is, I'm going to show you a simple exercise to help you both stop being overwhelmed with the future and so hard on yourself. So let's get right to it. Welcome, Warriors! This is your man Johnny F here, the founder of NextLevelWarrior.com, and this channel is all about providing you with the knowledge and tools to build your warrior within to become your next level self. And something we've got to bring our attention to is our personal stress and anxiety management. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this here. These are things that we all experience, some of us more regular than others, which has a serious impact on our mental health. So this exercise in particular is one that you can definitely add to your toolkit to help you navigate through what we all go through. And I'll tell you that if you don't bother to try this, well, a lot of our stress and anxiety about the future comes from uncertainty. Our anticipation is always bigger than the actual event itself. So regardless of where you're at in life, it's very easy to have fear, doubts, and questions of the unknown future ahead of us. Plus, because we can see where we fall short, because we can see our present day weaknesses, we end up being very critical of ourselves. And we all experience this.
Why is that?
Because it's so easy to fall into it. Your brain's survival mechanism wants predictability in order to feel stability and safety, which isn't super useful in the modern day world, most of the time. And because most people don't actively work on this or have mechanisms in place to navigate through this anxiety, then worrying about the unknown becomes the easier path, being critical and putting ourselves down. And this path really harms us in the present moment. But here's the thing. When we eventually make it past the experience, or the event that we were stressing about, especially if you bring awareness to this after the fact, we always come to realize that most of what we were worried about with our doubts and concerns, we were blowing it way out of proportion, creating far more anxiety than we needed to really experience. Can you relate to this? Because I sure can. See, if we look at our past, we can find tons of experiences where this was apparent. Whether it was an interview you're preparing for, maybe a serious conversation that needed to happen, you're planning on asking your boss for a raise at your job, or some other change that needed to happen. You likely built this up for days and weeks until the day finally came and you realize
That actually wasn't that bad. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Am I right? Good. Then do me a quick favor and let me know by hitting the like button. Of course, it's not then surprising that the research in psychology shows that our anticipation of something is always far greater than the actual event itself. So how does this all tie into something that we can actually do in the present to help us eliminate stress and anxiety? Well, there's something you need to understand about our present and future selves before you can implement this exercise. So stay with me here. With the anxiety and worry that we project about the future, we also tend to measure ourselves against a future ideal, something that doesn't actually even exist. This puts additional stress on us because it's not possible to live up to something that's not real. And the same is true when we compare ourselves to other people, which makes our current weaknesses very apparent along with the gap between our present self and the goals or habits that we haven't yet achieved. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have goals. I am a massive believer in the power of setting a target to aim for in life, to build your hope and imagination with a larger future that actually fuels your actions in the present. But we have to stop measuring the gap between our present self and our future self. Instead, reflect and measure on what's actually real and tangible, by measuring the progress and lessons that we've learned from our past to the present. This is how you frame your mindset to actually feel good about yourself and fuel you in the direction of your future self coordinates that you set with your goals. But let's get back to the exercise here. We know that we over-anticipate things which can bring a lot of anxiety into the present moment, along with sometimes being overly hard and critical of ourselves. So I want to ask you to look back at various parts of your past. Look back towards the times that you overly anticipated things. Look back at your failures and your fumbles. Do you feel a sense of shame towards your past self? Or do you feel compassion? Are you super critical of them, or can you see the lessons that actually came from it that have influenced who you are today? I really ask that you do your best to draw some conclusions from this, and even take some time after this video to get deeper into these questions using a journal. This ability to have compassion for our past selves is something that we must understand in the present moment in relation to our future. What I mean to say is that just as you can look back at your former self with compassion for who they were, what they did, and be proud of them, the same is true for your future self. Think about it. 5 years from now, when we look back at who we were today, the things that we screwed up, how nervous we were, you can see that it's all a game of learning and compassion. But we really need to bring this level of awareness via reflecting and journaling to gain some extra clarity and pull ourselves out of this funk when we over-anticipate things. Why not use this understanding to bring compassion in for ourselves in the present moment? You know that this worry is just our untrained human minds blowing things out of proportion. And your future self is not going to look back and shame you for who you are and what you did wrong. In fact, because you're likely going to grow even more, they're going to have an even greater level of compassion. Now, I know this might seem weird, but honestly, if weird means doing something different that results in less stress and anxiety in your life, then I'm sure you can agree it's well worth it. When we implement these new processes that interrupt the patterns that would normally deepen our present-day anxiety levels, then it's absolutely worth it. After all, our view of the future is what determines and drives our actions in the present. So the more that you ease this level of stress and worry about the future, the more room that you actually have to build faith and hope for a greater future for yourself. Remember that who you are today is not the be-all end-all, and research shows that we are going to change far more than we think in the future. This happens again and again. And to really make this work for you, to implement these exercises for creating big results in your life, you need to use a journal. The next time you find yourself in a state of stress and anxiety, worrying about the future, pull out your journal or a notebook and practice this. And if you want to make this work even more effective at calming you down, then write from a third-person perspective, specifically using your name instead of I. Research shows that this creates additional distance between you and the anxiety that you're experiencing, calming you down very fast. It helps you detach from these anxious feelings quickly to bring in that compassion for yourself quicker. The direction this can start adding towards your personal growth is worth every bit of the effort. And these playlists here on journaling and shifting negative self-talk will help you to accelerate on this path. So make sure to click on them now to continue on the journey towards becoming your next level self. Your personal growth is the greatest gift you can give yourself and the world around you. So until that next one, warriors, never stop growing.